So how do you create your personal success plan? Well, we're going to dive into that in this episode with Purdeep Sangha, who is a phenomenal personal development coach and expert at understanding how we can build emotional intelligence, how we can avoid dealing with some of the challenges that we deal with in our investing business that hold us back, and how we can put this plan together and actually execute it on a consistent basis. You're not going to want to miss this episode. This is the Investor Mindset Podcast. When you've got a plan B and things are just not working out quite the way you wanted to in the original area that you're working on, you maybe don't give it all that you need to actually break through the challenge that would get you to where you want to be. You start thinking, oh, well, maybe I should actually go over here. I should do this thing. Or it kind of takes some focus away from what you really need to be doing.
Yeah, I think that's really important. So a lot of the work that I do too is really on the neuroscience and neuropsychology of how people operate, how business owners operate. And so from a science perspective, if you have a plan B, your brain unconsciously is thinking about that plan B and always coming up with exit strategies. If you have a plan A and just continue to focus on plan A, you will actually be more creative. Your brain will be more creative in coming up with solutions and overcoming those challenges. So that's important to know, because most of our thought patterns, and I know we're kind of going on a tangent, but when people really understand this, that the majority of their thoughts are and their decisions are based on unconscious thoughts and feelings, they're more apt and aware. Okay, well, why am I making this decision right now? What is it? What's truly behind this decision? Because success is really it comes down to two things. It's a fundamental principle that I have that I teach. Is success is based on two things: decisions and actions. That's all it is. That it's a series of decisions and actions throughout your life, throughout your business, whatever that is, in your personal relationships. You make better decisions and you take more effective action, and you will actually get to your outcome a lot faster and a lot easier. So it's about teaching people how to do that, how to make better decisions and take more effective action at the end of the day.
Beautiful. That is so beautiful. And I couldn't agree more. So Purdeep, tell us a little bit about your background and what it is that you do, and then tell us how you got there. I'm very curious, this path that you've been on that got you to helping people in this space.
Yeah, well, wow. So basically, I help men in business. So if there's people, small business owners, for example, even to a degree, executives, CEOs, entrepreneurs, that's who I help. And because I know business, I've been studying business for years. I've been working in a large corporation. But there's another reason why I help men specifically, and it's because men right now are in a very tough spot from a society perspective. We have this confusion for men when it comes to what does it mean to be a man? How am I supposed to be? Am I supposed to be masculine? Am I being too masculine? Am I supposed to express my feelings? Am I not supposed to express my feelings? A lot of this, and then on top of that, we have things like the Me Too movement, and you might have heard of toxic masculinity out there. These are all things that are putting pressure on men, where a lot of men, believe it or not, do not know what it means to be a man. And then on the flip side, we have a lot of belligerent leadership from men. And then men look at that and say, well, is that what I'm supposed to be like? And so there's this confusion there. What's happening is that it's impacting men from a society perspective and how they think. And they're not able to make effective decisions, and they're not able to run their businesses as effectively as they want. And then that trickles into their home life, right? And so a lot of the stuff is trickling into relationships, for example. And the reason why I say this is I had a very long relationship with a high school sweetheart for 9 years, and we broke up. I was devastated because I thought I was going to get married to her and have kids, and we were going to grow old together. And so that was a time when I actually started studying relationship psychology and the differences between men and women. And at that time, some of the top psychologists were saying, look, there's a trend in society. You're going to see this start to happen with both men and women in relationships and marriages. And I said, no way. But that actually started to happen. So I know I'm kind of telling a long story here, but it's important for people to understand this is we're getting to that point right now where over 50% of kids in the US are being raised without fathers. And that's impacting how kids are being raised. Why I help men is because I had a very strong father. I had a very strong grandfather. My grandfather was in the military for 30 plus years. My dad was an ex-police officer. So when they walked into the room for our family, it was like, okay, these are the men of the household. And we had total comfort. We had total security that nothing was going to happen. Like, they were there to protect us. And so they taught us how to be men. But I also saw the struggles that my dad faced as an entrepreneur coming to this country, not really understanding, not totally fitting in, for example, because the town that we lived in, it was a beautiful town. We had great people, great neighbors, but it was there was a lot of racism as well. So, my dad struggled from that standpoint. And plus, he was trying to support his family back in India while he was working here for next to nothing. And my dad suffered from alcoholism. And so for a long time, he suffered from that. He eventually passed away as a result of that. My dad passed away a year and a half ago. And his yeah, thank you. It was tough. It was sudden. It had a real blow on our family. But, it was the impetus it was like his message to say, Purdeep, keep going. So ultimately, what my father wanted to do was to hit 65. And that was going to be his milestone. He was an entrepreneur. And that was going to be his milestone to say, hey, look, I did it, right? I came to this country. I did it. I could take my foot off the gas. He was always going to still work, but that was his milestone to give himself a pat on the back. He was 64 and a half when he passed away. And I wish he would have seen that mark, that milestone. I wish he would have given himself a pat on the back. And I see a lot of men these days struggle. I see a lot of men in business burn themselves out and not give themselves enough credit. And that is my personal mission, is to help them get there and actually hit those milestones, make them feel better about themselves, have more fulfillment in life, so they don't end up, at not having that life that they've always wanted.
Well, it's amazing to me that this isn't a bigger conversation that's happening in the business community, because what happens in your personal life directly impacts the velocity of what's going to happen in your business life. If you've got crap going on at home, if you're fighting with your wife or husband, if you're having issues with your kids, if you're not happy, if you're depressed, if you're not in the right state of mind in your personal life, your business life is going to suffer, because you just aren't going to have the ability to have that energy to go out and do the things that you need to do. So it's so important. And I couldn't agree more. It's one of those things that, I think it's amazing to see the growth that's happening within the female community, but a lot of men are lost because they're not seeing that same camaraderie that, women often have grown up around, where it's comfortable to talk about some of the challenges that you're dealing with, and it's very public. And so I think it's important for men to start realizing and finding coaches, finding community where they feel like, okay, it's okay for me to talk vulnerably about the challenges that I'm dealing with in my life. It's okay for me to talk about how I'm unhappy, or my business isn't going well, or, this issue in my relationship. And for us to be able to connect around that and then be able to move forward, because it's in that vulnerability that we actually gain a lot of strength. And so I commend you for making this part of your focus.
Thank you for listening to the Investor Mindset Podcast. If you like what you heard, make sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share with a friend. Head over to theinvestormindset.com to join the Insider Club, where we share tools and strategies from the top investors and entrepreneurs on how to take it to the next level.